Welcome to our webinar, Network Diversity and How to Reduce Complexity Towards 100% Connectivity Uptime, from our sponsors, Cobham Satcom. Our guest speakers today are Jens Ewerling, Global Product Manager with Cobham Satcom, and Karthik Arumugam, Senior Manager from MAERSK. If you have any questions about the topics today, please type them in the Q&A section and we'll get them answered for you at the end of the presentation. Here is our host, Carl Jeffrey from Digital Ship, to explain more.
So we're here today to talk about better ways to manage ship-shore communications when you've got multiple systems. So not so long ago, it was normal for shipping companies to have nearly all your communications through one system, like Inmarsat Fleet Broadband. But today, companies might have multiple VSAT systems, KU and KA band, together with a new LEO system like Starlink, maybe 5G cellular communications, and they've still got Fleet Broadband, and we're calling this network diversity. That gets very tricky to manage. So our webinar today is going to look at how to make that easier. You want to have at least some connectivity available continuously, and you want to take advantage of the lowest cost option, which works wherever you are, or maybe the fastest option. And you can develop a long-term strategy for your communications to ensure that you keep the systems as manageable as you can as you bring in new systems. And there's ways to make it easier to install and operate multiple systems. So we're going to hear today from Jens Ewerling, who's Global Product Manager with Cobham Satcom and a trained master mariner. He's joining us from Copenhagen. Cobham Satcom makes satellite communications antennas. And then we're going to hear from Karthik Arumugam, Senior Product Manager, Vessel Connectivity and IoT Solutions Lead with AP Møller MAERSK, also based in Copenhagen. So that's one of the world's largest container shipping lines. Karthik is a former Senior Solutions Architect with Ericsson, where he also specialized in maritime and IoT. So we'll have two presentations from Jens and Karthik of about 20 minutes each, and then we'll take questions at the end, but you can put your questions in the Q&A box at any time. And I'd like to invite Jens to start his talk. Cheers.
Thank you, Carl. Let me jump right into this. Welcome, everybody, to our session here. We want to talk about this today, both from an industry perspective, quite high level, what we are dealing with every single day, and also then I will hand over to Karthik from MAERSK to introduce you to the more hands-on solutions he is actually developing or has already implemented or is in the process of implementing. So there's two levels of information here which we will convey today. But let's just jump right into this and look at the material here. First of all, a little bit about myself. I am a trained master mariner, as Carl has already explained. That's a long time ago. It's in the 80s when I've been a seafarer. I'm also a yacht master ocean, so I've spent all my life with the sea, at sea, and so forth, and around the sea. So this is still why I'm in marine electronics, which I've been involved in for the last 35 years or so. I've been with Cobham Satcom for 22 years now, and I've seen many and been part of it, many product launches together with many different satellite operators. So that's a lot of experience and insights I have gained in the last many years. But let's go into the subject of today. But who are we, for those who are not monitoring us every single day? The company we are today, Cobham Satcom, is of course a combination of many different companies which have been merged over the years. But in the maritime arena, we have two brands, Sailor and Seatail, and those go back 70 years. And we are in this business of reliable, performance-oriented equipment, and that is not just satellite equipment for the seafarers, but it's also radio equipment, GMDSS radios, Inmarsat C, and all sorts of things. So that's all we do is maritime communication. It represents 60% of our business. The other 40% is a mixture of critical communications, on land, and also very large antennas, 6-9 meter antennas for tracking the new satellite networks which are coming up now. So there's it's very diverse now, but our specialty is communication for sure. But going into the subject of today, network diversity, it's all about the connected chip, and with many, many different tasks, which Karthik later on will go into much more detail. Of course, we do realize, although we are a manufacturer of equipment, we speak to customers every day, and we know what's going on there. And of course, we cannot get involved on the IT level. There's a lot of specialists there, both on the equipment side and also on the solution side. But satellite is keeping us busy, and we try to keep up with everything we do here. It's a complex affair for sure to keep a vessel connected. But as Carl has alluded to, it's not just a single solution anymore, right? This is in constant development. Network diversity means that there are many, many different challenges nowadays with keeping a ship connected, but there are also opportunities. And so this is what we want to give some food for thought, rather than just look at an $800 airtime bill. There are clear priorities, there are criticalities in how to keep the connections going on a ship, because you're dealing with business continuity. You want to keep everything going. And again, Karthik will speak much more about this. Modern vessels are involved in a much higher level of expectations from your customers, from shipping customers, who want to know not just where the ship is, but where the cargo is. They want to be sure that everything is managed correctly. It also helps the shipping company to monitor equipment on board. Once you have reached that level, that you know where everything operates and what's the lifetime of all the aggregates and so forth, is that you have all these information ready at your fingertips. Ensure that needs a level of integration on board, which is constantly evolving. But the punchline here is that you cannot achieve this a constant connectivity, 100% uptime for all your solutions without looking at network diversity. And that's what we are basically trying to talk about today. Is as an example, this is the global shipping routes. I'm sure that most of you have seen something like this before. Only to say that even though there is, as you can see from the classical routes between Asia and Europe, there is a lot of connectivity from shore available. At some point, our former partners Ericsson have found out that up to 30-40% of a ship's route is connected or can be connected through cellular communications. But for the rest, satellite is the right solution. So there is, and it is the right thing to do, is a mixture of both and of many other things. So in order to also not to shock you or to make this the issue here, is just to mention that there is a lot going on. And I've had another webinar a year ago where I have spoken about this particular subject in much more detail. And that is about all these new satellite constellations which are in development. So that means there is, let's call it old space and new space. There is, of course, existing companies which you may or may not know, because you are working with a service provider who is procuring the capacity from one of these satellite operators, or you are procuring this directly from these. This is, of course, in some cases possible. This is still evolving. All these companies are now challenged, of course, because of the fast rollout of the Starlink network. But nothing is standing still. So there is still a lot going on, and in the next couple of years, there will be a lot more things coming as well. And this is what I'm trying to allude to here. So nothing of this is standing still. There will be new networks coming up, also in the in this space. So just to clarify what these acronyms also mean, in order to not spread more confusion. GEO is, of course, the abbreviation for geostationary or geosynchronous satellites, which is the traditional satellites which most of you know. A new expression is HEO, which is the high elliptical orbit, which is going to be a new thing for next year, next summer, which is a venture of a company called Space Norway. Space Norway is, they will launch this as HEOSat, and basically it's 2 satellites circling the Earth in a slingshot movement, and that will provide coverage over the Arctic. Our friends from Inmarsat are part of that venture as well, and so is Telenor Satellite, who is now owned by Space Norway. So that will become a more visible solution also to get connectivity in the Arctic for those who are operating there. That's probably mostly research vessels, some fishing, and of course in the government space. So that is going to happen next year. And then, of course, in the LEO, the low Earth orbits, like, for example, Starlink, which you all heard of, and also in the MEO space, the medium Earth orbit, there's going to be quite some development. So I don't have to list them all, but there are some new names here, like Rivada Space, which are funded now, and SES are reinforcing their O3b mPOWER network. There will be new players like Mangata and traditional players like Telesat, who already have a whole fleet of geostationary satellites. They are going to launch their Lightspeed NEO network in 3 or 4 years as well. So there's a lot happening in this space, which is only a good thing, that there will be more connectivity available for the mariner than ever before. And the bandwidth will, of course, increase like never before. So here I can see I have to watch my time here. I only have 3 minutes left. But this is just an illustration of a typical solution on a ship, which is offered by our partners, system integrators, who are already connecting a vessel through their IT solution, through Wi-Fi, cellular, 4G, 5G, VSAT, L-band. And the point here I'm trying to make is not so much emphasizing what is actually happening on a vessel, because that's what all these typical services and capabilities are happening on a vessel right now. Of course, for the experts in the audience, you know, of course, there is a lot more. That just to emphasize that if you do not have a permanent network on board, and if you're not embracing network diversity across multiple satellite and terrestrial network, if you lose these protocols and services and so forth, then your network on board is not up and running anymore. So this is the important thing to emphasize, that in order to achieve this, to keep everything going, it's important that you consider network diversity and some connectivity from multiple sources, multipath connectivity. And what I'm trying to illustrate here is something which we are part of today. Again, we are not supplying IT solutions as a manufacturer and developer. Our core competence is the satellite equipment, But what we do deliver, though, is some new aspects and some new possibilities here. We know that there is LEO connectivity already happening, which is fine. The more the merrier. We do offer possibilities here, like our latest antenna solutions can also integrate cellular connectivity inside of a satellite antenna, which is something new. And we've had this for years. And it's just to say these things can be simplified in other high-end applications, like for the offshore energy segment. We do have larger antennas, of course, that can connect to multiple satellite networks, and with a push of a button can be switched from one or the other. So there are solutions out there. So basically, to say it can be simplified if you talk to our partners out there, and our partners can help you simplifying such a network diversity solution, of course, right? And this is my point here. And having said that, my 15 minutes of fame are over, and I'm now handing over to Karthik to go through the MAERSK solution, which is basically almost exactly what I've tried to explain here. Over to you, Karthik.
Thanks, Jens. Let me start sharing my screen. Yeah, thanks, Jens, and welcome everyone, and thanks for joining this webinar. I will quickly go through our MAERSK approach on how we took the network diversity for our good vessels, basically. So before getting into it, quick intro from my side. So myself, Karthik, I'm part of a MAERSK business unit called Fleet Management and Technology. Within that, we have a department called Vessel and Cargo Connectivity, where I'm primarily responsible for vessel to shore communication strategy and product development, and then also taking care for the vessel onboard connectivity, which includes the IoT aspects and infrastructure around it. So moving on to how we enabled for our vessels the network diversity. So here you can here in the past, we normally in the maritime industry, if you look at it, it always depends on the vendor or the Satcom provider. The connectivity is always dependent on that. We also had a challenge in the past, in around the 2019 and 2020, where one of our service provider, connectivity provider, went into Chapter 11, and that's gave us a situation. How do we continue our business continuity and also address our continued vessel operations and crew internet and basically how do we get the continued data coming from vessel, right? So we had a challenge at that time, and then we looked at it and we took a strategy as well. Okay, how do we overcome such challenge in the future? Because if you look at it, it is always dependent where the connectivity comes with above deck equipment, ADE, and the below deck equipment, which is primarily very specific towards the provider in a way. So if you want to move to one provider to another provider, then you always have a challenge. Either ADE is not compatible, above deck equipment, which is antenna or certain transmitters and etc. And then if you are in the BDE, either you need to change the entire rack because the intelligence comes from, it's very much dependent on provider. So we had a challenge, and then imagine for our 500 vessels, if we need to migrate to different provider or address the business continuity option, then it's a huge nightmare where our vessels are trading globally and catching up and deploying new solution. It's a kind of a challenge, and that's the way where we changed the strategy, and we took an approach where we ourselves design the sort of design the solution in terms of how we manage the connectivity as a platform, and also benefit by combining, or benefit to have multiple connectivity options, whether it is KU or KA or even LEO, irrespective of orbital or the band, we are able to achieve effective connectivity management on a single roof. That is how we took an approach where the One Satcom evolved. What the One Satcom means, it's kind of a unified connectivity for our vessels in an efficient and managed way. Also combining all the connectivity under single roof, right? It is not only that, but also paving way for the unified support services as well. That means that we can not only fix one if there is a problem on KU, but it's the same way we can fix on the other connectivity options with a quick turnaround time. So that's sort of where we call it a One Satcom unified approach. What does it give in the benefits? It's basically to transform. When we move from as is to the to be scenario, what you can see here, it is our own designed solution, but not just on our own, but teaming up with the partners like Cobham and a few other Satcom service providers directly, and then we enable this on a to get the benefit of flexibility and vendor neutral, right? It's more of not locked with one vendor, but independently operate our connectivity and maneuver the capacity from one band to another band, or one provider to another band. So this gave us quite optimized cost versus performance in enabling basically cost per megabit in an efficient way. It's also then it opens up also to give high throughput capacity, right? So when you have an approach with the global pool, so you take an approach of a global pool where your vessel can share on your own. So imagine you are sharing 800 meg with the vessels in a different trading route, and it gives us a very good performance, what we intend to expect. Then it also enables what Jens was talking about the network diversity, which, because we are not dependent on one, but then we are having a KU band and KA band, and also option for 4G, 5G, and Starlink option. So this is the slide talking about our vision of One Satcom leading to what we call it floating vessel office. The value of One Satcom that we designed is benefit in three folds. One being a single unified connectivity platform. That means that we can efficiently manage all different types of connectivity with the partner, harmonized ecosystem of partners in a standardized approach, where our requirements are met by our Satcom and satellite operators, where we can unifiedly integrate the multiple connectivity in one single roof. That's called, where we call it single unified single connectivity platform. And the second fold is the optimized networking, meaning peering, align with our operators. How can we reach to a direct cloud connect, either to Azure or Amazon in a closer path? So that sort of optimized networking together in a partnership mode where we collaborate with them and then achieve direct cloud connectivity, also enabling with technologies like SD-WAN and benefiting the better user experience when you have multiple connectivity approach. And the third one is, of course, the curated components, meaning carefully design or select hardware and software components so that we can ensure the functionality of the asset that we have, meaning the antennas are capable to do not only the current need, but also for the future need of high capacity, also to support on the future constellation. So we carefully select the hardware components to suit our need, because this is critical to transfer any business critical applications and the safety related aspects from vessel to shore. So this is very, very important that we select a proper or carefully selected hardware components for our need. The facts, what you look, then what did we achieve is basically, you can see that the improvement we got is the increased raw availability and also the uptime. When we talk about availability, it is not about just the connectivity, but it is more of usable bandwidth, what we get from the providers, right? So that is how we measure about the availability. So with this approach of one Satcom with embedded or overlaid with SD-WAN, we were able to achieve this increased uptime as well as the usability bandwidth in a better way. Then it also opens up new options of load balancing, meaning application-driven recognized routing. You know, when now we are more and more used to collaborative tools such as Teams, and where our crew will be able to collaborate efficiently with our superintendent or even participate in our management forum in an efficient way with a continuous connectivity with video enabled. These all possible only when you are able to do application recognition and quality of service on an end-to-end approach. So that sort of setup what the one Satcom has sort of enabled. It also provides or the future traffic bonding and direct access to cloud applications, because our vision is to migrate 60% of our applications towards cloud, so that our vessel can be as good as shore. Obviously, we cannot migrate everything or move all applications because it's due to compliance and safety related. So we always the applications that are intended or needed that can be moved to cloud, like Office 365, not in a legacy way of working in a synchronized mode, but more of connecting directly to cloud. Today, with the benefit of LEO, where we are already getting benefit of that with the Starlink, where you might have seen also the press release. So we are already trying to get the benefit from day one, because the one Satcom enables to move in that direction. So it's not only giving that as a high bandwidth and high bandwidth and usable application bandwidth, but it's also gives an enhanced user experience compared to previous, where you don't realize how the packets are going from one link to another link and return coming from another link, right? So it's a very flexible way of application recognized end-to-end quality of service that has been enabled through this one Satcom approach. So where we are as I mentioned, also where we are on the deployment of the on this network diversity, which enabled through One Satcom, and what improvement we achieved. So that's something I'll go through in this slide. It's basically with this approach of One Satcom unified connectivity platform, we not only achieved the higher availability, but it's also that we have fulfill the gaps that we had in, especially in the South Pacific area, where we used to have around close to 12 days of blackout, but then we gradually increased from single VSAT to a dual VSAT, and dual VSAT to a LEO option, where we basically get down to zero days of outage, right? So we are now improved the availability around that. It's not only on the South Pacific, but also in certain areas in the Africas and the Atlantic, and a trade route between Europe to South America. So here we have improved a lot in terms of availability and coverage. With the inclusion of LEO Starlink, I think we also see that the applications are behaving, or the user experience that we get, it's quite improved in the lower latency. But in our case, what we think is that it doesn't, whether it is a GEO or LEO, but our system can recognize what is the for this type of application, what is best circuit to forward the packets. It will do that accordingly. So that's why for MAERSK, we are not also dependent on LEO, but we also get the benefit of GEO with the enhanced bandwidth, where we can keep also certain traffic on load balancing way on GEO. So it's kind of a balanced approach. Then this not only improves the enhanced performance, but the more and critical important thing is also the enhancing the cybersecurity aspects with the capability built in next-gen firewall. Even though we take an approach of layered approach, where you can see a connectivity platform, vessel to shore, and we have the vessel IT platform, which is another layer approach, which even prevents connecting to internal system. And then the third would be our infrastructure on board and the OT network, right? Our OT/IoT network. So this four layered approach will that has a very standard tightly coupled interconnection with the standardized approach with the One Satcom. So in this way we achieve not fully dependent on one, but then you have a double protection in each layer on its own, so that we are fully cyber security proof, right? In the current situation of the in the market, where we time to time have some threats coming in, and then where we are with the status, we already deployed on 310. Close to 300, so we are only pending around 40 vessels to migrate to a dual VSAT system. On top of it, we will finalize the Starlink rollout within Q1. By end Q1, all our vessels are equipped with Starlink. On top of it, we will also getting installed with the 4G, 5G, especially to cover certain areas where LEO cannot cover, or 4G, 5G can. As Jens also pointed out, this is our even with our testing or our observation is that you can still benefit on the coastal areas this 4G, 5G connectivity, which could be an alternative way of managing your or offloading your capacity need towards on this connectivity channel. On top of it, we will continue to explore how we can develop the new upcoming MEO, HEO, on even exploring with our existing partners who are in our One Satcom ecosystem, continue to develop new products to suit our need. Because ultimately, if the user experience in Starlink, then we need to have a close to or similar experience in a way, even though latency is high. But we have been through that because in the last few decades, we have been using Satcom of high latency. So we have an understanding how we can optimize that even for such applications. We could continue to use GEO as well. So that is that we will collaborate with our existing partners to ensure that we continue to use our existing asset, meaning the antennas, where it can make use of this GEO capacity. So this is sort of a quick snapshot, busy slide, showing our vision of floating vessel office by 2025. So the quick takeaway from this, that how we started, like I mentioned, our strategy that was launched in 2020 about the One Satcom, and then we took the approach in deploying in 2 steps where quickly address the business continuity tackle the business continuity challenge in a shorter period of time, where we managed to address that within 75 days by migrating 285 sites, and thanks to our partner Cobham, who has been supporting in this aspect for this migration. That's the strength of the globally how we can deploy such solutions, right? Then in the second phase 2, where we basically revamped our existing infrastructure with the brand new KU, KA, and antennas, with including FBB, and we deployed where it's a gradual deployed since late 2021, and we are right now where by end Q1 the dual VSAT plus Starlink and 4G, so we will have the setup that is enabling for floating vessel office. But then afterwards, it's all about fine-tuning the parameters and how do we ensure our applications for the direct cloud connectivity, and how can we enrich the consistent bandwidth availability for our vessels, starting from from 20 consistent of 25 to 50 meg, and that's our focus, where we will try to ensure that it's always on, and with the network diversity, and also moving on with in the coming years, where we closely work with our partners, how we can achieve higher bandwidth, especially on bandwidth demand if needed be, where we could get even 50 or 80 or 100 meg on geo capacity when the time when we need, so, or when the LEO is not available, when we need, how dynamically we can achieve this capacity. So that's work in progress, and ultimately where we expect is that in 2020, with the new incumbents coming in, where we have the where we have the possibility to benefit those opportunities, and try to get our vessel as good as with the doubling the capacity or tripling the capacity, how we with the same cost level, right? So that's sort of where we are looking at. Then ultimately this enables the use cases that we are looking at, the remote piloting aspect and autonomous way. This will pave way more of commercialization. Yes, now today we are already doing it, but it is not in the commercialization. But I think we will have this approach through this enablement of network diversity with our One Satcom platform for our vessels. We'll be able to achieve this in a commercial aspect sooner. That is our belief, and it is also completely aligned with our internal strategy of the cloud and setting baselines. So we will be in a good position where we can achieve this agenda of moving 60% of our application towards a cloud by 2025, and then start rolling out. So this is sort of our vision. primarily to address our three main important agenda, which is especially the vessel operations, improve the vessel operations and the container and cargo visibility. Not only that, but also the condition of the cargoes for the customers, end-to-end visibility with respect to the vessel. We should be able to offer that continuously, and third being the important factor, the crew welfare or the morality of the crew, where we continuously try to support on that aspect to this connectivity through one Satcom. So that's pretty much, I guess, I've run through.
Well, thank you very much, Karthik. That's great. Yeah, that's an enormous picture. So if you want to stop screen sharing now, so we'll move to the Q&A session. So for the audience, we've got about 8 questions coming in. Feel free to use the thumbs up button so you can pick the questions you think are most interesting, because I'm not sure we're going to have time to answer them. I've had to read through. They're all questions that we could answer, do a whole webinar on each question, I think, and they're nearly all for Karthik, which isn't so good for Jens. Jens, you want to turn your camera on now? But we can start with start at the top. So Amrith is automation engineer with Wallenius Wilhelmsen. So we're getting a bit off topic here. Well, he's asking about cybersecurity with Starlink. And maybe just to stick to the network diversity theme. So I guess if you've got I guess Starlink seems to be less cybersecure than other systems, from what I understand. So perhaps as part of the network. Do you want to try to keep 2 minutes to each answer, and then we'll.
Yeah, sure. I can take that. Yes, that's of course, yes. But that's also our intention, right? So what we want is an IP transit link from the provider. So where we can control what traffic going in and going out from our vessel or from the edge perspective, right? That's why I mentioned also that we are taking the layered approach, where you have a connectivity platform that takes care of the next-gen firewall aspects, where we are preventing at that level. And then also each layer, when it goes into our internal network, there we are also taking a high specialized firewall capability, which in turn protects the environment. And then also with the OT layer, right? So with this layer approach, they have independently having the security aspects. On top of it, your general protection with the intrusion detection, threat prevention, that capability we built in. But obviously, it also be good that the providers on where they are also taking into preventing their infrastructure with the resilience cyber security measures. That is also one of our demand from day one. When we collaborate with the partners, we ensure that they are certified with ISO certain standards. That is where we onboard them with the cybersecurity, with sort of a questionnaire. We evaluate that. If in case if they are not already ready, but in the plan, we still onboard them, because there is a concrete plan that they are also getting protected in their infrastructure in a better way. So we have taken certain measures on our own to prevent this, even though the providers are not ready yet, but we have the capability to address it through our some enhanced features that we are taking in our system.
Well, Jens, feel free to add if you want to give them the.
Yeah. So I can see that there is something about question of occurred.
Okay, so Sander is the IT manager of IT performance engineer at Royal Wagenburg, but yeah, he's asking about the switching. So that was also a question in my mind. You didn't actually say where you control what goes where. So he's suggesting we want to do Microsoft Teams always through Starlink, and if you don't have Starlink, you can't have Microsoft Teams. Is that?
Yes, you can do that. Yes, the quality of service or the traffic offloading, you could do that in 2 ways. Sometimes you don't, when you enable the overlaid with the SD-WAN, you achieve end-to-end quality of service, because not all service providers would be able to provide the QoS aspect to support, because you need to align with each vendor or each connectivity provider on certain QoS aspects. So what we ensured is that at least our SD-WAN is prioritized in the network. Then you take care of the end-to-end application QoS defined or taken taken control by the system, or you could do it in manually. So we are, for example, for the teams, yes, it will always prefer, the system will figure out which is the low latency or which is the link that is having less packet loss, high bandwidth and enough no congestion, and accordingly it will route the traffic. We also do it in a manual way. So first priority is Starlink, and then second, third, like that. So depending on which connectivity is available at that point of time where the vessel is sailing. So we have that control of end to end, and that's the beauty of SD-WAN.
Okay, so it's next with 4 upvotes. We've got John Cornish, who's joining us from Sydney, where it's 10:15 in the evening. So he's a technical manager at Electrotech Australia, but he's asking, are we talking about an integrated product for optimization of firewalling, wide area network failover? I don't know what LCR is, or have you got separate modules? What makes and models have you used? Is that you able to share that?
No, we use integrated module. As I mentioned, that we evaluated and selected carefully what platform we should be using it. So we chose the right platform that fits our need, our requirement. So yes, it's a combined SD-WAN / network, the next gen firewall, and full optimization and also caching in one module or one platform. So yes.
Oh, Jens, you want to add anything here?
Well, this is a very common, and as I go through the questions here, it's a common theme here is to find out how to do this. And yes, Karthik has the golden unit for his SD-WAN integration of all these different services here in our building as well. I don't know what you call it. I call it golden unit, whatever it is. But yeah, it's I think more encouraging everybody to look at the opportunities of software-defined wide area network integration, where you can set all of this up, and I can see there's a red thread through all of these questions. How do you do this? And even further down, Ademar Kinrito Iwamoto, how do you figure out how to reach the floating office with more than 200 megabits? So that's all in the networking here, right? So this is a common theme. That basically encourage everybody to look at all these things and at the state-of-the-art network management where you can achieve this.
Well, Ademar is project engineer with MAERSK in Brazil, as I said in a little from Sydney to Brazil. Crikey, does. Oh,
yeah.
So should we go to Amrit's second question? So he's asking, standardized approach. So this also picks up with Jens' theme. How do you do this? And to me, I could see. So you're building a kind of model or a map of how this stuff works. So, when you see ships in a harbour, it looks like they just chuck stuff on and leave all the old stuff there. But you're trying to plan this out so something you can draw on paper. I think that's what what this webinar is all about, really, isn't it?
Yes, this is of course that's why I'm saying this is a ecosystem of partners. We embrace partners to come, and also we define a standardized approach for each for the connectivity aspects. Then whoever supports that, then they are welcome to be a part of our ecosystem. So we believe with the standardized approach, we could be so that you are not dependent on certain things, right? Especially with the operators, then you don't have the challenge of when something happens, or when you want to benefit the future connectivity, which somebody is bringing with a new way of doing or providing the bandwidth, then we have the option to migrate or easily turn over the air. So our intention is, how can we do in the next few years the benefit of high bandwidth over not necessarily visiting each vessel, doing the changes, but over the air with the existing asset. How can we do this? We are in a good position where we could do that, but unless if there is something to be changed, like modem or something, which is still it's a smaller components compared to changing the entire antenna, which requires a crane and all the stuff, right? But now things are also changing in the antenna development and the technology and everything, right? So I think we are in a good position. I believe standardized approach with partners, collaboration ecosystem of partners, I think there will be a greater win situation to achieve this network diversity.
Oh, okay. So Michael de Koning, so 2 upvotes. He's the CEN of Submarine in Antwerp. So as a consultant, there's situations when a vessel is not able to upload all the data you want to send. I suppose there must be, isn't it?
Sorry, what was that?
Michael, so are there situations in which a vessel doesn't have sufficient upload capacity to transfer large data amounts in your limited time frame?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for now, when you are start moving, and it's not only file transfer, but when you are looking into change the way of operations from legacy way to the new way, cloud approach, you have a lot of data coming out from the vessel. Of course, we have made sure that the hardware capability that we have chosen is a high power capability, so that it can support for the longer, for the higher upload throughput in a way. But then in terms of a LEO, you can achieve with a smaller terminal already with a better, close to 20-25 meg throughput with even in the upload. So this is a good thing. Today we have that traffic pattern to support what is needed. We can handle it. But when we more and more put the traffic or the cloud operations into place, then obviously there is required some high upload thing that is needed. That's a future where we are already thought through, is the traffic bonding, meaning you could combine a couple of links together or upload together. If you are in a software-defined networking, then you could push a capacity. Of course, you make sure that the link quality or the link is the similar pattern, maybe combining 2 geo to get more upload, where our hardware can support up to 10 meg on one single VSAT right now. But then we could combine and then achieve better. So I feel also the satellite capability is also changing, where more and more HTS satellites being launched. So we should be able to, with the same hardware, we should be able to pump more upload as well. So that's a combination of how we are teaming up with the satellite operator, our asset of the antenna and the performance, and I think we can leverage with that. So.
Wow, so we've got a question from Florent Kone of Inmarsat. So he's asking about your traffic rules management, for example. Are you only using Starlink for crew welfare, or what do you send through Starlink? Or do you want to say, I guess you didn't mention any of this in the presentation, how you actually decide what goes where, do you?
Yeah, that's correct. Like, of course, we need to have a certain SLA, but also we are trying to change in the perception of the bandwidth, right? Yes, you need the CIR and the MIR or the CIR concept when you have a limited bandwidth. But when you have a bandwidth that is kind of a guaranteed with a higher bandwidth level, then I think we also want to move away from the CIR MIR concept. How can we be just like a shore office or home office? If you look at it, a home, we are getting a DSL or fiber, we are getting a bandwidth which is 100 meg or 200 meg, that kind of level. But then there is no guarantee that it's a performance-based approach. Like you maintain that your most of the time, or 60 to 70% of the time, you get your MIR when needed. But then when you will have a level where probably at 20% of time, a performance-based, where you have 20% less capacity available, right? So I think the market or the industry needs to change that. Okay, we're moving away from CIR concept, but then more looking at how do we go in a performance-based setup. That is where we are demanding our operators as well to be in line with that. I think it's the Starlink, of course, it's not guaranteed, but again, as long as you are getting certain bandwidth for your need, then it fulfills. As long we just need to maintain it's consistent, not going drop to bottom. But it is also that Starlink more and more, when they increase the satellites, I think they will get a stable percent. But over the time, I think it will be improved. but we are in a position where if the bandwidth in one link is dropped and it's not valuable, then immediately we can move it to the other link. So that's capability, as long as if you have, you can manage. So you can tweak the SLA aspects how you want to define, right? So that is the approach. I foresee that we move on to take it up.
Okay, we've got about 6 questions, but a lot of them are a bit out of scope. I mean, maybe I'll just summarize all the questions and you can choose what you want to take in the last 5 minutes. So Vincius from Brazil is asking, did MAERSK develop the platform themselves? Sandra is asking about using Intune on vessels, which I had to Google to see it's a Microsoft cybersecurity tool. Amrith is asking about the layered approach for OT, operational technology. I think that's a bit out of scope. So Florent from Inmarsat is asking how important it is to have a service level agreement. I'm sure the answer is sometimes it is, sometimes it's less important. But Ademar from Naris in Brazil is asking why we're keeping having a GEO MEO. Is it because we need to get the availability higher than 99.5%? I'm sure the answer is yes. Jeff Slacks is asking, how does MAERSK maintain connectivity while ships are constantly trading? I think we've been answering that for the last last hour or so. But more questions. Vincius from Brazil. Understand below deck equipments would be responsible to monitor the links and move. Yes, I imagine that must be a yes. Federico is asking, what do you think about the integrated solutions already on the market? We don't need to finish on the hour, but we probably ought to. But maybe perhaps to go to Jens first and then Karthik. If I don't want to pick any of those to. You want to?
Yeah, okay. But I'll take
okay.
one thing that is
All right.
about the Intune aspect, right? Yes, of course. Now more and more, since we want to enable this cloud approach, yes, we want to do take the benefit of the managed devices, modern managed devices approach that are offered by any cloud provider, right? So in that way, yes, when we for example, we have rolled out a Teams tablet or Teams mobility, meaning every vessel will have a tablet where they can use for benefit of mobility on board, where they can also use it for connecting to our the shore forum or management forum, or constantly connect with our shore team, right? So there is it's completely managed with the Intune. So we are protecting the device as much as it's also benefit. The cybersecurity is more and more better when you are doing it from a centralized approach. So you protect in a better way or efficient way. On top of it, what you can also do it at the device level or the vessel level. So I think yes, the more and more it will be we will have efficient device management capability enabled on vessel. And then addressing whether we will take integrator approach, what others are doing. Yes, but for us, we took this approach simply because we want full flexibility, but we don't want to depend on one vendor or one possible integrated solution, right? But this one, since this is an ecosystem model, so we are in a better situation where we constantly can maneuver between different providers, or also from the system wise. We can have a kind of a redundancy or resilience with a similar capability of different vendors. So that thought through is already in our design, but we normally don't take because of the we need to manage 500 vessels, and it is better, it's efficient if we have it our own solution. But whereas for maybe other shipping lines or shipping customers, perhaps that, or smaller customers, maybe that could be benefit. So it's depending on how the customers want to take their approach. But our approach, we took better to do it this way.
Oh, Jens, I can see you're busy doing written answers, but I don't know if you want to do anything on the camera. Do you want? You're on mute at the moment. You're on mute. Oh, you're muted still.
Of course, I even have the t-shirt on. You're muted. Always the same, is it? No, I'm trying to answer some of the questions which are quite obvious because they are shared here, right? So everybody can read them. Suppose that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just for me, most of the questions are on the application levels, which is Karthik's wheelhouse. So that's perfectly fine. I can answer a lot of questions when it comes to next generation satellite networks, because that's what I am involved in. So that's I'm happy to do that.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Well, we're coming on to the hour now. I don't know, Karthik, you want to have any last words? We'll send the questions on email. You're not obliged to send written answers, but you might want to get into the discussion. But do you want to give any last thoughts, Karthik?
No, nothing, but I'm not sure if I'm able to answer all questions, because it's also, coming up frequently. But yeah, in case if you have reached out, please reach out to me or something. I mean, I can always share, because at the end of the day, we want the maritime industry to grow faster and be as good as any other industry. So not in a conservative mode, but more of grabbing the digitalization or digital transformation to help where we are pioneer also in the maritime industry, right? So that's the kind of words that I could pass it on. So I embrace also the partners who are willing to be part of our ecosystem. Please feel free. So that's pretty much. And I wish you all good luck.
Last words from Jens, you want?
No, thank you everybody for participating. I hope that we have provided some insights, and otherwise feel free to reach out on, I think the most convenient way would be LinkedIn perhaps, but yes, thanks, and see you soon. I see from the list of participants there's a lot of people I know here, so we go back 20 years, so that's great to see you everybody, and see you soon somewhere in the world.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, my takeaway from this is map out where you're going. There's enormous complexity here, but enormous potential, and we still want to keep all these systems in use. And thank you, Karthik and Jens, and I shall pass over to Farah for the closing words. Cheers.
Thank you to our guest speakers, Jens Ewerling from Cobham Satcom and Karthik Arumugam from MAERSK, and to all our viewers. We'll be sending you a YouTube video link soon with contact details if you have any further questions. Join us for our webinar tomorrow, Developments with Digital Modelling for Maritime in Norway, which you can book online at our website. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.